Hey, what's up, rock stars? It's Rox coming to you today with a review for Love and Marriage Detroit, Season 1, Episode 3, you guys. So let's get to it, shall we? All right, you guys. So the show opens where it ended last week, which was with Christina going off on Brandon and Bravo and Anthony at the club over, what she didn't want, which was with Brandon being at the club. Bravo was just like, I don't think Christina understands. This showcase is happening, okay? I don't think Bravo understands that Christina's problem is not even with the showcase. It's with her cheating ass husband. Now, remember I told you guys last week that it was obvious that Brandon was the one that was not as connected as the other two guys that's on this show. Brandon even said, like, you guys are already sprinting. I'm just jogging, okay? He don't have what they have. He's trying to get to where they are. But then he flips it and turns it around and says that he can't do that because Christina is always holding him back. Oh, boy, I tell you, that Brandon is the most of the gaslighters on this show. I mean, he just does the most. He was just like, you got your shackles on me. I know you always concerned about your public image. You want to look a certain way in public. And she was just like, I want to look a certain way in public. Nigga, I want my husband not to be fucking on other women. Like, how hard is that? I mean, is that asking for too much? What is he talking about? It's too early in the video. I'm gonna have to blank that curse word out, but she was just like, don't be blaming that on me. I'm not shackling you and I'm not holding you back. You don't know how to act out there in them streets. Brandon's trying to tell her, we a team and we need to be together and we need to, and she was just like, we not a team if this is the way you gonna act. How you a team and you hiding all of your shit from your wife? Either you a team or you're not. So he's going on and on about him not being supported by her, not helping him, with his career, him trying to get out there and do what he need to do. And she was just like, you know what, nigga, what about me? What about my career? I put my shit not on the back burner. I didn't even do it no more. We've been together all these years and I have been concentrating on Brandon and our kids. Okay? You, on the other hand, been out there doing whatever the hell you want to do. Christina's mad because she's like, I don't like the insecure narrative because I'm not insecure. Okay? Christina has real reasons to feel the way that she feels about Brandon. What's annoying about Christina, which I will keep telling you guys every week, is the fact that she's one of those ones that's not going to never leave but just continue to stay there and complain all the time. Okay? And you need to figure out what the hell you going to do. Because every time, this is the third episode and this is the third fucking blow up that Christina and Brandon has had. We gonna do this every episode, y'all? So she was just like, you know what, this is on you. You know me, Brandon. I can have any man that I want. I didn't know where that came from, but it was in the scuffle. Maybe the editing cut out something. Because I was like, where that came out from? And he was just like, she got her nerve saying some stuff like that to me. She don't want to say that to me because I do this. Like, I be out there in them streets. Like, she already know. And I was just like, so you already admitting right there that you be out there cheating and shit. That's why the lady act this way, Brandon. It's a reaction. But he's upset about all them fighting words. She can get any other man, so he don't appreciate her saying that. And she was just like, no, Brandon, my point is that you trying to say I'm insecure and you know good and damn well I'm not insecure. Am I insecure, Brandon? He was just like, I don't know. You be saying weird shit. And she was just like, you just be using me as a scapegoat. You be making me look crazy. Well, then I would have been blasted, Brandon, but like I said, it's a show. Everybody got to wait and everything. But I'd have been like, y'all on this nigga back. Let me just tell you. All the things that Brandon has put me through for 8 years. And then we'll see how you guys feel about all this after that. But she doesn't do that, of course. She's just going on. You need to be a good father. You need to be a good husband and all of that. And this conversation is just going nowhere. And Brandon is still trying to say, I need you to support me. Can I have your support when I get out there in them streets and do what I have to do? I don't even know what that means. What do you mean, sir, when you say get out in these streets and do what I have to do? Okay, to me, that means you out there working, trying to further your career as a music producer. To you, that sounds like get out there in them streets, find some hoe and do what you got to do, meaning do her. So yeah, it get to be a mess, child. Everybody leave and they walking on home. This is New Detroit, remember. They walking home in New Detroit. And they're talking about it, and he was just like, I just need to be able to have your support. Like, do I have your support to be able to get out and do those things? I come home, and you don't even be happy to see me. It's just sort of like, hey. And she was just like, well, first of all, Brandon, you get home at 11 o'clock at night, okay? I've had a full day. They have 2 young kids. That means she's been working, she's been mommying and all. And then, yeah, I'm tired. It's 11 o'clock, okay? Nigga, you ready to do something? I'm ready to go to sleep. He was just like, do you want to be with me? And she was just like, are you serious? I mean, I wouldn't even be here. We wouldn't even be having these conversations if I didn't want to be here. So they get to their penthouse, their apartment building, and she goes up, and he was just like, I'm going to just keep on walking. I was just like... Anthony and LaToya are also leaving the night. Remember, this was all the wine tasting that LaToya was having last week. So she was kind of irritated in the car. Like, we can't keep having, like, every time we get together, Brandon and Christina going to be having these fights. Like, it was important people there today. Like, who's who kind of people. And we got to be dealing with nigga shit with them too. Anthony says, yeah, he knows, but he also wants to be supportive in their marriage. Like, he keeps telling Brandon that he needs to invest in his marriage, invest in his wife, his relationship. Like Anthony did. He invested in his relationship. He invested in his wife. He cut the check for opulence, wine. Okay, he did all of that. She just sort of was just sort of looking over there. She didn't say much. She just was just like, thank you. Okay. But I was just like, I feel like there's more to that story, but maybe we'll get it later on in the season. But LaToya is adamant, like, moving forward, next events or something, we're not going to have no stuff like this. And Anthony was like, well, it's real life. You can't really tell what's going to happen at these things, like they didn't have control over Brandon and Christina fighting. It's not going to all be cookies and cream. And she was like, it's not even just that. It's just sort of like, it's not even our business. Like, why are we even in the middle of what they're going through? Like, that's not our business. It's not our marriage. Like, we can just leave Brandon and Christina alone, really. And I agree with LaToya. I feel like Anthony is more in Brandon and Christina's mess instead of Anthony and LaToya. That Anthony, he's something else. But anyway, back to Christina. So later on, we see Christina. She's talking to Chelsea. And, her whole focus right now is getting back to creating, getting back to her career, what she used to want to be. She has always lived, breathed, ate fashion. She was the preacher's kid. She grew up in the church, and it was very important how you looked in Detroit when you went to the church, So that has always been her thing. Like I said, she gave it up when she got with Brandon, so she's getting back to that. Vintage fashion in particular. But anyway, Chelsea was just like, so how was everything else since, the wine tasting? And she was just like, well, hasn't been all that good. She hasn't spoken to Brandon. They had walked home. They had kind of an argument. They walked home. He said that he was going to keep walking, and she ain't talked to him since. She felt like she was in the middle of defending herself against Bravo and Anthony, and she was just like, I'm sitting up here arguing with 2 men. I shouldn't even have to be protecting myself against 2 dudes. My husband's sitting fucking right there and not saying nothing. She was like, well, where do you guys stand now? Like I said, she don't know. The boy, she ain't talked to the man. But Christina's getting tired of always having to be the one to fight for the marriage. She was like, I'm always the one that fights for the marriage. I'm always the one that, is concerned about the kids and in my relationship. Like, Brandon don't do that. She wants her kids to be in a 2-parent marriage, and that's the reason why she continues to fight for it. But I guess Christina's probably getting tired. But she also strikes me as the type that will continue to stay with him just so that she can say that she's in a 2-parent marriage. But, that don't always be the right thing even for your kids. But she was just like, if he want to go, she can't really fight him on that one. He's going to have to make the decision as whatever's best for him. Okay, now while Christina talked to her friend Chelsea, we also see that Brandon talks to Anthony. So Anthony is at a photo shoot for a lookbook or something that he's doing out there. And Brandon ends up calling him. And Anthony was just like, hey, my boy, like, where you been? I ain't talked to you. Oh, man, I just had my phone on D&D, like, do not disturb because, I'm just trying to get his head right. But Brandon is just over everybody. He just, like, felt like that whole thing that happened at the club the other night was unnecessary. It didn't have to happen. He kind of irritated about the whole thing. Hey, fuck everyone. He good on everybody is what he said. I said, boy, you ain't in the position to say fuck everybody because you ain't got nothing that you trying to get to without the other people that you cursing out right now. So he tells him that, you know, Christina went to the penthouse. He kept on walking. He went to the other place and he been staying there. I don't know how long it's been, but you know, Anthony was like, what? Nigga, you ain't been home? Like, are you crazy? You giving this woman this kind of space? Eventually, she gonna be like, fine, just stay where you are. Don't never come back. He was like, no. This is not the way to handle it. You need to be with your wife. This woman was with you. Back when you guys weren't, you know, when you first met her, she brought you out of your depression, the things that you was going through. Like, she's helped you. She's been nothing but a positive influence in your life. Like, you need to get your wife back. He was like, I kind of went through these same things with my wife when I went to Atlanta, you know? I said, Lord, we just gonna keep on hearing about this Atlanta trip. I mean, well, it wasn't a trip, you know, now that we every week hear a little bit more, but he was just like, his wife felt like he just left them and it almost destroyed them. So you know what, Brandon, you need to be Team Smith. Even though Anthony did go to Atlanta, you know, he said that was an opportunity he could not pass up. So he did sacrifice his family for that opportunity, but it almost destroyed them. So he's trying to give Brandon some words of wisdom. So, nigga, take your ass home. And Brandon said that him talking to Anthony did help him out, you know, so maybe he's feeling a little bit more positive about things. He's going to try to work things out with Christina. I was just like, oh my God, they are so tired. Now, speaking of Anthony, we see Anthony and LaToya, and they're out. You know, they say they like to go out and spend time together just to make sure that they keep their relationship good. You know, you need that one-on-one time with your spouse. Anyways, they're in New Detroit. Remember I told you, New Detroit is on the rise, you guys. He loves this city and all that. So anyway, they sit down in a loungy type area. And they're talking. He tells her that he's been busy there in Detroit, but he's got to get back down to Atlanta soon. You know, I know you don't like hearing that, but he do have to get back down there, you know, and do some work. And she was just like, wait a minute, hold on. Stop saying that I don't like you going to Atlanta, okay? That is not, Atlanta, you going to Atlanta is not the problem. Is that you left here, you moved there. You were there for 8 months. You had a place, you had a house, you furnished the home, you lived there. I was like, oh, that is different. You having a whole setup somewhere else, yes, I could see where your wife would have a problem with that. But I mean, I guess if the man was going to be there long term, what is she expecting him to stay in a hotel all the time? I don't know what she expected, but yeah, there was definitely a breakdown in communication somewhere. He was just like, you know what? It was an opportunity, and I felt like I should have been given the space to take the opportunity. I shouldn't have had to even just say I'm leaving and going and causing all this problems. Like, he felt like she should have supported, because he always supports everything that she wants. Like, he felt like if she needed to go to LA and do whatever work that she needed to do, you know, Dr. LaToya, he would have just been like, I'd have just been like, okay, you going to LA, I'm gonna be here with the kids, the businesses, the work, I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna hold it down here. But he feels like he couldn't get the same from her. But you know, he also realizes that he's the man of the house, you know, and for him to just be leaving, I mean, I guess that does kind of upset the balance. So, you know, he don't try to do better with this. But yeah, he would appreciate if somebody could just be in his corner for once. He was like, you know, I'm always big up in you, big up in the family, what people want to do, our friends and all. Like, why can't Anthony get that? Like, she's not crazy for feeling the way that she did. Okay, apparently she was having problems with the kids and well, the kids with school, racism in the school and all of that, and he knew, and she just felt like he had just left them all. So it's still a tender spot, you guys. Later on, we see them, they go out on the river, the lake, or the river, whatever it is, out there in New Detroit. And they're there with a former coach of one of the Detroit teams out there. I didn't catch what their names were, but it's a couple that they're close friends with. So that, you know, they get on the boat, and it's always just so nice out there on the water. You know, well, we love our city. It's just so beautiful here in Detroit. You know, people just don't even realize it. Okay. And LaToya again brings up Atlanta. Yeah, so lovely. You wouldn't understand, you know, why he wanted to move to Atlanta. Okay. I said, Atlanta, my man, Atlanta. I am so tired of Atlanta. Just spit it out. What happened? Well, we get a little bit more of the story. So apparently when Anthony left, LaToya was in a tailspin. She was contacting her family, his family, you know, friends, everybody, letting them know, like, Anthony just left us. So, of course, any family that cares about that family, you know, they call. So her father was calling. He said her father was calling and his people was calling. It was just like, nigga, you gone. You left your family. You a deadbeat dad. Like, this woman going through all of this stuff and you gone. And he was just like, I just needed everybody to understand how tremendous this opportunity was. And nobody was really getting that. She was just like, no, you just left. And he was just like, but I needed you to just trust your man that, you know, I was making the right decision for us. It was going to be a good thing. All right. But they just had to agree to disagree on this one. And the wife of the couple, she was just like, well, wait a minute, hold on. How do you guys feel now? And he says, well, it feels like it was a missed opportunity. And I was just like, well, why was it missed? I guess maybe because he didn't get to complete what he was doing out there because he had to come back home because his wife was fixing to leave his ass. So the lady was just like, so how do you guys fix all that? Well, that's where we are in the middle of now, I guess. But Anthony is still kind of salty about it because he was just like, the way that she had presented the story to everybody was that I was kind of like a deadbeat dad and I had just abandoned them, and that's not what it was. Well, that's what it felt like to LaToya. He felt like he didn't get a fair shake, that she just made him look the worst in the light that he was in. Anyway, in all of that, Anthony started to feel attacked. So he started getting in his feelings while he was out there in Atlanta. He started getting emotional because he was just like, you know, I wanted everybody to have my back. I always got somebody's back. Why somebody can't have my back sometimes? I don't have a whole lot of family. You guys are it, you know, so you guys need to be in my corner and you need to do. And I was just like, Anthony, why is it that we can't understand that she's upset about the fact that you left? Not that we're trying to, in probably one of the worst times. I mean, you guys know how we all were at COVID. Nobody knew what was going on. I would have probably been very upset for my man to be leaving me too during that time. You know, if I had young kids and businesses and shit like that, like, yeah, I probably would have had a problem with it too. So it's one of them things you got to work through, right? After you guys, Colby and Russell. So Colby's parents come by the house. Colby has invited them over because she wants to have a conversation with them about Russell's decision to go into divinity school. So they come on over, you know, Pastor and First Lady. They look just like Pastor and First Lady too, you know. And Russell was just like, I'm going to step out the room and let you guys have this conversation. And so she's talking to him, and she was just like, you know, Russell said that he wanted to go to divinity school, you know, that he had already spoke to her father. He's supposed to be his mentor and everything. And she didn't like the fact that he actually had been in school for like 3 or 4 weeks and hadn't even told her. She was just like, I'm not going to go against what God calls. If God called him, fine. But I mean, I couldn't get hey, baby, I'm about to sign up for divinity school or nothing. You tell me after you already been in there a month. That's what she has a problem with. They were like, well, if he had told you, what was you going to say? And she was like, I probably would have said no. And they were like, okay, well, that's why he ain't told you. Sometimes you just got to learn, you know, the best timing of when to talk to your spouse. But she don't like the fact that Russell has left her and the baby, and she just don't want to do all of this, you know, on her own. And they were like, he ain't left you, and you know Russell will do anything for you and your child. Like, that's not what the problem is. Okay? No, that's not what the problem is. The problem is she don't want to be no pastor's wife. She don't want to be no first lady. She don't want to be none of that. She knows what her parents went through, and she didn't like the idea of her father having to be pulled in so many places. So she don't want the same thing for Russell. So, you know, they have this conversation, and the dad is very patient. He's trying to explain to her, but the bottom line, what daddy is trying to say is, look, the boy is about to be in divinity school, or he is in divinity school. He is going to do this because this is what God has called him to do. Okay. She just feels that he needs to be more considerate. Maybe he does. So maybe that's something they need to work on. So later on, we see them there at the gym. And, you know, they're going to do some little exercises there at the gym on the harness, walking across the rope, you know, trust type exercises, all of those things, you know. So they have a good time at the gym, and then afterwards they sit down there talking. Russell was hoping that this would help them get closer. They seem to have a pretty cool relationship. He asked her how she's feeling about the conversation that, you know, she had with her parents, and she was like, well, I mean, it's clear that my parents are on your side. And he was just like, no, babe, it's not my side, or your side is the Lord's side, whatever the Lord say. But anyway, he wanted her to have that conversation with her so, you know, that she can get this knowledge from the pastor, you know, her father, you know, because when he becomes a pastor, and she was like, wait a minute, when you become a pastor of what, a church? Oh, no, you told me that you was going to be a chaplain for the National Guard. Oh, yeah. When I become a chaplain, National Guard. But you never know where the Lord might lead. Something tells me that Russell does want to be a pastor of a church, but he's just trying to give this shit to her in little pieces. Okay. But, I forgot to tell them to not cook my steak too much. I'm sorry, you guys. One second. I need to text. I hope they don't overcook my steak. Y'all know I like my steak rare. Mr. and Joe is up there barbecuing. Anyway. Yeah, I think that the ultimate goal is probably to become a pastor of a church, but he ain't telling his wife that right now. So yeah, he was, oh yeah, I'm in chaplain. She is like, okay, I can do chaplain because they don't have as much responsibility as a pastor, but she ain't trying to be a first lady. He was just like, I mean, you know, I will communicate whatever I decide to do, you know, from here on out. But, you know, whatever the Lord says. So if the Lord calls us, you know, and he's not going to set us up for failure. He's not going to put me in places where I'm going to not do well. So it's all about what the Lord tell me to do. Okay. And I was just like, Kobe, girl, you might as well stop all this fussing because the man is going to do it. Okay. And how do you tell somebody they can't go and follow the calling of God? You know, so I like this show. I think that there's enough of, you know, I think that they've done a good job of giving us a few different issues that can come up in a relationship or in a family or whatever. And, you know, they're dealing with it. So, yeah, so far I'm good. I know a lot of people is feeling like Carlos just picks fucked up ass marriages. I think the really only messed up marriage in this one is Brandon and Christina. The rest of them, you know, they seem to be trying to get through it. But how y'all feeling about the show so far? We're at episode 3, you guys. All right, you guys, let me get on off of here, get on up here, get these edited, and up to you. All right. So make sure that you thumbs up this video, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm Roxanne. The channel is itsrox. Everything else I do will be in the bottom bar. All right. So I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and I plan on doing the same. Till next time, rock stars. Goodbye.